Hello there, I'm Robert McKay. Let me adjust a tad bit. As the title cards said, this is a thoroughly amateur production. I'm sitting in a chair at the kitchen table. My phone is propped up right there and getting a good shot of me. I'm thinking, and I may do this later, of putting a book there so the phone's higher, but we'll see. It doesn't make for a professional production. Excuse me, I wouldn't know what to do with a professional production. Hope you'll excuse my hair. I've just got a shower 15-20 minutes ago, and I don't comb it, I just pull it back with my hands and it dries, and until it does dry, things stick out. I have a hat right here, but I think I'll forbear. I am thinking, after I did a test video last night with this same setup that worked much better than I expected. I expected it to work better than previous attempts with my new laptop, which did not work too well. It worked much better than I expected, and so in thinking about what I did and how I did it, I've almost decided to start a new series, and of course it would require a new playlist on YouTube, which the only name that I've thought of for it is Sippin and Talkin. And if you know hee-haw, you'll know picking and grinning. If you don't know hee-haw, I just feel sorry for you. But Buck Owens would say, I'm a picking, and Roy Clark would say, and I'm a grinning, and off they'd go, and they'd play a bit, and then they'd tell a joke, and then they'd play a bit, and they'd tell a joke. Well, maybe I'll use the name, maybe not, but Sippin' and Talkin'. Tonight's sipping, we'll see if we can't make it a little better, is Bluff Springs. What do they call it? Yeah, it's Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. It, as far as I have been able to determine, they don't tell you, and there are various reasons why that might be the case. They don't tell you who distills it, but I believe it's the Heaven Hill Distillery, because on the nose I get a very definite peanut shell note, which for me at least is characteristic of Heaven Hill. We'll just keep it back here. Last night I held it and poured, and it didn't work too well, so I'll just pour this away. I won't pour too much. This is my third glass of the night, whereas I normally have only 2 on a night after I have, let me put that over here. I normally I drink left-handed. Let me put that back over here. I'll just stick it there. Some bottles lend themselves a little better to my constricted arrangement. This one does not. But anyway, I don't normally have 3 glasses on a night after I've worked, because I usually have to either get up the next day to go to work again, which means I have to get to bed, or I have something to do the next day when it's an off day. Tomorrow I'm off and I have something to do. But last night I rearranged my schedule isn't the right word, habits isn't the right word, but I rearranged the way I do things, and it worked well, and I may rearrange them still yet to where I can record on the second glass. But as you can see, it's about typical bourbon color, and the channel is Whiskey for Beginners. I have a whole playlist of Whisky Basics if you've not seen them, and you think this is an amateur production, go and look at them and some of my reviews. I think this arrangement actually has turned out to be the best I've had yet, and some of it's pretty bad as far as production. But if you can get past that, you'll find a ton of information that will be useful to a new whiskey drinker. And somebody said when I was starting this channel, well, that's just going to be a niche channel. Yeah, I know. That's a niche I want to fill. Because when I was just getting started, I wanted all this information in one place and I couldn't find it. I found some here, some there, some over there, some back there. And I decided to bring it all together. And 30 some odd questions I answered in the Whisky Basics playlist. And I recommend, if you're new to whiskey, you go look, watch those videos, disregard the terrible production, just focus on the info. What brought that to mind was I saw myself on the screen swirling the whiskey, and I did a video on, and I can't remember if it was the video on how to drink whiskey or the video on the Glencairn glass. This is a Glencairn. Some people call it Glencairn. No, C-A-I-R-N. One syllable. Glen. I'm going to have to work not to sound southern here, but I want to say it plainly and clearly for everybody. Glencairn. Cairn. Probably the Scots would say it something like Glencairn. But it's not Glencairn. It's Glencairn. Glencairn. Go back to Texas hick, because that's what I am. Adopted Texan, natural born hick. Anyway, in whichever video it was, I said you hold the glass like this. Well, a lot of people do, and it works for them. I found it works better for me to hold it like this. I have more control over it. It's easier to pick up this way than grabbing the base. Before I quit grabbing the base, I would have to do this. It was just different. And the reason they'll hold the base is to avoid warming the whiskey. You want your whiskey at room temperature. But the way I hold it, this is this and this are all that's contacting the whiskey, and I put it down periodically so I'm not imparting any undue warmth. But you swirl it, you stir it up, the vapors come off of it, and because of the shape of the glass they concentrate here, and then peanut shells. I told you that for me that is an almost invariable sign of a Heaven Hill product. I suspect it's their yeast. You wouldn't believe the number of things that can change a whiskey. The exact proportions of grain, which specific type, say, of corn you use, where the corn comes from, the yeast, how you distill it, how you age it, where in the barrel house the barrel sets. Just so many different things can affect the aroma and the taste. And there's a reason that, well, I think his name was Julian, but Pappy Van Winkle, the whiskey brand, is named after him. There's a reason he had a sign up at his distillery, the Stitzel Weller distillery, when he ran it, "No chemists allowed." Because, yes, there's science involved, but there's also art. Peanut shells, alcohol, of course. When you sniff and move the glass away to give your nose time to clear out, and then you can process it in your mind. And if you just hold it up here, like that, you saturate your nose. It's like a sponge. If you don't wring it out, it can't pick up any more water. But definitely peanut shells, and that's really all I'm getting. As you can see, it's down towards the bottom. Let me turn it to where you can actually see the level. And for me, that tends to concentrate things so you don't get quite the complexity. There's more room for the air to interact with the whiskey, which is why I'll taste it, don't worry, I'll get to that. Which is why, if you're not going to be often drinking from a bottle. When it gets down to say a third, you want to put it in a smaller bottle to where there's less interaction with the air, and it thus stays more the way it is. If you're drinking on it regular, like I am once a week or so, then there's no point in it. Maybe there's a little honey in there. Now to taste it. Honey, cinnamon, and fruit. And as we go, I'll try to just sort out which fruit I'm getting. Overall, it's a darker fruit profile. But the reason I started drinking Bluff Springs was I was looking for Buffalo Trace, which at the time here in Albuquerque you could not find. You could not find a single product from Buffalo Trace. Not Buffalo Trace bourbon, not any kind of Weller, not Eagle Rare. You still can't find a lot of it. But I have, at different times, I wasn't looking for it, but I've happened to see as many as a dozen Buffalo Trace bottles on the shelf. I've seen half a dozen, 6 or 8 bottles of Weller Special Reserve. I've not seen Eagle Rare on the shelf. I've not seen any other Wellers. Various other things that they produce. I'll never see a Pappy. Those things are so rare and costly that I'll probably never be in the same state with one. But I was looking for Buffalo Trace bourbon. I wanted to try it. I've actually had two bottles of it. And a Total Wine employee told me that Bluff Springs is a good alternative. Now, there have been 3 or 4 suggestions from Total Wine employees, all of which I hated except this. Bluff Springs is a good alternative to Buffalo Trace. I think it's better than Buffalo Trace. And it's easier to find. It only costs, this was $24.99, call it 25 bucks. It's easier to find, it's cheaper, and I think it's better. And for several months I was so busy trying new stuff I didn't have any Bluff Springs on hand. Now I do, and I don't want to go that long without again. After sipping, it's always a good idea to nose it again, because taste and smell work so closely together. But it's been a while since the sip, so I'm not getting anything new yet. That was full of honey and some cinnamon. It's a bit spicy. Bourbon tends to be regardless of the rye because you can get spice from the barrel. But in with the honey, there's that fruit, as I say. I believe I detected some orange, mandarin orange perhaps. I think there was some banana in there. And those are not the dark fruits that the overall profile gives me. When I think of the whiskey overall, I think of plums and things like that. I'm not getting that, at least not right now. The peanut shells are so strong, I'm just not picking up anything else on the nose, and that's fine. I like the smell of peanut shells. In addition to the cinnamon, that time I got some brown sugar. And I have a video in my Whisky Basics series. I can't remember exactly what I called it. Something like, do people really get all those notes that they say they get? When I first started out, I wondered. At one point, I even thought, they're making it up. They've got to be. There can't be that much in whiskey. Well, They're not making it up. At least most aren't. There might be somebody out there. In fact, let me tell you about this. Randy Sullivan of Bourbon Real Talk. It's a good channel. He's opinionated. He tends not to take criticism well. At least I found it so. Maybe I just rub him wrong. I don't know. He tends not to change his mind, but it's a good channel. He's got a ton of information. He researches his stuff. It's a different thrust from what I'm doing here. But he has these commercials for his own merchandise. Merch is not a word. Merchandise. Speak English, people. I'm opinionated too, if you can't tell it. But he does his own commercials for his own merchandise. And in one of them, I can't remember what he's promoting, but the commercial is called Pretentious Whiskey Reviews. And he's got the whiskey and a brandy snifter, and I'm getting a hint of Bolivian virgin tears. And it's hilarious. And I can't remember why I got off on that now. But this is if I use the name Sippin' and Talkin'. It's not supposed to stick to any specific topic other than to talk about the whiskey, and I've been doing that. Tonight, I'm not getting anything but what I've already told you. And that might be partly because my previous glass was Bullet 90 proof, the regular Bullet bourbon. And it's a fruity whiskey to my palate. And maybe that cut it off. Also, in between then and now, I ate a bagel and cream cheese, and that doesn't put a strain on the palate, but it might have been enough to disrupt my tasting a little. Some people are more sensitive than others. Some are sensitive to this, while others are sensitive to that. I found that with very few exceptions, I cannot eat anything and then drink whiskey and expect to enjoy it. Most anything I eat, it turns the whiskey into turpentine. And good whiskey does not taste like turpentine, not normally. If your palate's off, then yeah, it definitely can. But for whatever reason, I'm not getting everything I normally get here. But that's alright, it still tastes good. And if your palate goes sideways at some point, it's not a problem. I've had, I think, 3 what I've termed molts, after the way a caterpillar molts and comes out a butterfly. And that's where my palate has, for a week or two, been almost dead. I can't detect anything. And then when it comes back, it's better than before. You might go through that, you might not. But you almost assuredly will have days where nothing you can do will make whiskey taste good. And what you do at that point is just recognize the situation, put in the cork, put it back, wait till the next day, see what happens. If you're sick, it can affect your palate. I haven't noticed tiredness doing it to me, but I bet it can. I had something else I was reaching for, and it's done flew off. If you can't tell, I speak a highly colloquial brand of English. I don't know where that come from. Excuse me. Got a tickle in my throat all of a sudden. I don't know where it come from. I speak a highly colloquial brand of English, Texas Hick English, with the occasional sesquipedalian word larded in. And I don't deliberately look for fancy words to show off or trick people or to impress people. It's just that at that moment, that's the word that comes out that seems the best to me. And sesquipedalian is a big word that means having to do with big words. So if I say I have a sesquipedalian vocabulary, it means I got a lot of big words in my vocabulary. And sometimes they just come out. And I don't know where that come from either. I do know that I'm over 20 minutes, never intended to be that long, although I don't put a time limit on them. I still try to keep it manageable. I don't know how many people want to listen to me rattle on for 20 minutes or 30 or 97. I didn't get pineapple then, but something reminded me of pineapple. And that happened last night in my test video, which you might have already seen. And I don't know when I will upload this. It might not be till Sunday. But as I'm speaking, that video was last night. I was drinking, what was I drinking? I can't remember what, Wild Turkey 101. And somewhere out of nowhere, I got something that reminded me of pineapple. Only whiskey I've ever had that gave me an actual pineapple note is Lafroig 10. But in that last sip, something reminded me of pineapple. But anyway, I want to end the video, and so I'm going to speak Korean at you. Tupshida.